Hey guys, this is Reynolds here. Today we're going to be doing a 485 commentary, specifically if you own a Voidwaker. I do recommend having a Tbow to make the time here a little bit cleaner, but you can actually make this with Bofa a little bit tighter time. My guess is 38 to 39 minutes is going to be your average for this rain, and with Bofa, and about 35 to 37 minutes with Tbow. Now Tbow is only going to really help you for Zabak and Wardens, so it's not the craziest time save, but in case you have one, then this is a raid I would recommend highly. So this has a lot of restores, and if you've noticed, we don't really have that many mage switches. As I said, you need a Voidwaker for this setup, and the reason that is because you go so restore heavy that you basically get most of your mage DPS from the Voidwaker at Akkha. You don't actually use the mage switches for much. Of course, you'll use it when you're running out of spec, and then you'll use it for P2, but let's go over the invocations. We are going to be 3 downing because it's a pretty high invocation, and 2 downing is a little bit impractical. Might be wondering why we're only getting 1 Trident phase. That's because we have aerial assault off. If you've seen my 445 video, I do recommend this because you'll get 2 range phases. It'll also swap the orb order to 30, 45, 30, which means without needing to know any tick gates, you can tank a few more orbs than usual. Other than that, there's nothing really crazy about these invocations. It's a very standard setup. If you're very experienced with the game, you can run keep back, but we're only 10 raid level and a lot higher, chance of death. I wouldn't recommend this for most players. You also can't just be okay with 1-to-1 fang cycles. If you take keep back, you need to be able to go for more tick law cycles and identify when to pray melee to save yourself the ticks. Okay. Let's go ahead and pot up. Make sure you have lava runes in the pouch. We're going to be uncharging our Sanguinesti staff for an extra inventory slot. In this setup, I don't like tacits as well. You can hybrid some legs, but the reason I don't do it is because it gets very wonky on the switches, and I kind of want the setup to be practical for people to farm, I've tried with hybrid legs and it gets very messy. Echo boots are going to be our boot of choice because it gives strength, plus they give a lot of prayer for while you're ranging. I'll do a little bit of walkthrough for all the rooms, how I do them as well. Go ahead and drop 3 potions over here in the back. And then right before you pick up your potions, go for a trident, then pick up the potion. Trident again. Pull out your best gear like so. Now we are going to need to do piety, unfortunately. For the rangers, that is. Now the reason you have earth runes is so you can essentially kill those guys. Oh, sorry, not kill those guys. Summon a thrall over there. We're going to be using medium thralls for Baba, but then afterwards we're going to go ahead and uncharge Sanguinesti for the blood runes and get more runes. Should have went for the Venom one here, but... Now, Shamans always take high priority if you don't have Chinchonkers, as dealing with the thralls at the end of the room is pretty painful. That's very rude. Not that big of a deal, though. I like to handle the puzzle while sanging these guys. That's a little bit weird. Now, contrary to popular belief, you don't need a Blood Fairy to do 5-to-1. I was doing this with Vando's legs for a bit, and honestly, it was fine. Huge. Now we're gonna save our Voidwaker for now. We'll do it later, during Baba's wake up phase. That's a pretty rare rock to fall. Yep, we'll go ahead and reset the cycle. The 5-to-1 guide will be in the description. I recommend blow piping if you need some HP, like so. That way you can continue the 5-to-1. Continuing 5-to-1 is more important than going for a Voidwaker spec. If you need the HP, it's much more important to go for that. Probably should put on my cape to save some darts, but if you're an Iron Man, you should probably do that. But I'm sure you guys will let it slide. Mess up the skip here. Yep. Voidwaker is magic damage, so I actually won't wake up Baba here. I could have uncharged my Sang for the better thralls, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. The method takes so little damage doing 5-to-1 that you can do this with Torture and some low pipe specs. Of course, if you're much better HP than that, you can Voidwaker, 3 times instead of doing 2 blow pipe specs. So we're gonna Voidwaker Kefri once to start. And we'll save the other one for the Ranger. We may need the Sun Spec, depending on how unlucky we get, but that's okay. Now with this setup, with 10 restores, you do want to Lazy Flick. I know 10 sounds like a lot, but we're going to be going double power, so you're not going to get the usual, Ambrosia and restores that you normally are used to. So make sure you're ready for that. We're really going to make the Voidwaker pay, you're going to get your real value off this sword today. Especially in Iron Man, you worked hard for it. Make it work hard back. Go ahead and uncharge our Sanguinesti. You can use the charges calculator plugin to get this option right over here. Right over here. I like to do mine as 100 and just leave the runes out. Now we'll have Death Charge and we'll have the big thralls. I like to spam Dung on the east side. This is a no swarm method. Very chill. And we'll Death Charge at around 40% Kefri. This is a Pathfinder Kefri, and with no swarms, you can't expect this room to be fairly long. I would guess 5 minutes plus, but potentially 4, depending on how it goes. We'll go ahead and depth charge now. We're not gonna hit any eggs this time. With the SGS setup, we did hit eggs, but for this setup, we're going for, you know, max efficiency. So we'll go ahead and just flick. Some lazy flicks. You do want to put up range prayer once the agiles are out. If you need to, redung here. If you don't, go ahead and start hitting your spitting scarab. Highly recommend going for at least one Voidwaker on him, because you ideally don't want to be tanking this guy too long. Especially tanking to the point where the soldier gets to. Now, of course, RNG is a factor. The soldier may get up to you anyway. You may be noodling. When that happens, make sure you camp hide you before any of the bites. Looks like we got depth charged a little earlier. In an ideal world, we're able to depth charge both off the ranger and the meleeer. Now we're going to set up a classic double ranger trap. The ranger trap is going to be set up just behind us here. The reason we don't trap the meleeer is because we don't have a shadow. So our next best DPS is the Fang. Obviously, you can't access the meleeer if you trap him. So that's why we leave it. We'll pray ranged here. We'll spam dung here as needed. We'll save depth charge until about 40%. A little under 40% actually. Want to make sure we have at least one Voidwaker for the melee arcane phase set to. Dung here as many times as you need. You also dung close to the melee trap position, but just make sure you're careful not to actually trap the meleeer. Yep, we procced. Don't cross this line yet until the ranger settles into the cage like that. After you get your 2 Fang hits, you can Fang the soldier twice, and then you can get a guaranteed Voidwaker spec off the major, and this is pretty good for your tick up time. Timed our depth charge perfectly. Make sure you stand where I was right over here. This is the exact tile. And this will shift the ranger so that he doesn't see you when you're fighting Kefri on this south side. Could have depth charged again on the meleeer, but kind of forgot to cast it. Now we don't need to pray ranged against the agiles anymore until they drain us to, you know, about 20 HP or lower. Go ahead and use a Voidwaker spec if you have one still. You do want to save one for the last phase, as it seems like Kefri dungs you more often in the last phase, so try to clean that phase a little bit faster. If you did drop below earlier from the melee biting you, you could have sunned between set 1 and set 2 as well, so there is some leniency. Or in case you're noodling and just simply miss like all of your fangs, you can pray mage versus the arcane and sun spec to live. Because the arcane, if you're praying mage, will deal about anywhere from 30 to 60 5 damage. Not the most ideal place to dung, but with aerial assault off, it's fine. Some leftover spec, we'll go ahead and Fang spec the boss. Let's put these runes back in the pouch. Drop the extra few runes, and then you can deposit this into the pot if you really care about it. We always go double power here, and hopefully next time we don't get an Akkha level 4. Usually you'll get a level 3 Akkha, level 4 Akkha is considerably longer, so you can expect this rate to be on the longer end than usual. But I'll show you, this time is very free to get. Now, if you did need to Dragon Pickaxe spec, do it as soon as you grab the pickaxe so that you're regenerating some spec here. But hopefully your mining level is sufficient enough where you don't need to use any spec, because we're really trying to get the Voidwaker value here. So this one can be a little bit annoying if you're good on prayer like I am currently, because you're going to want to uncharge your staff or Death Charge, plus, you know, good thralls. We're going to open up with some Sanguinesti into 3 Voidwakers. Now, we're going to go ahead into the room and instantly drop 3 restores so we can uncharge for the adrenaline, okay? Go ahead and Voidwake 3 times. The remaining spec can be held for emergencies, plus in case, you know, he switches. A little bit of a boomer switch there. Now, always stand on the corners like this and be ready to jump in for a DPS skip in case you miss. Akkha will help proc your Echo Boots in case you're using Echo Boots like I am on the shadows as well. He'll also take some damage from the Echo Boots. Back and forth action. And if he switches, we're not going to go right into mage. Actually, he's still in melee, holy. Go ahead and lazy flick Piety. Don't worry about lazy flicking Rigor too much. It's a little bit of a pain in the ass. Now this is ideal where he's sitting on these mage faces, but hopefully he does go back to mage at some point so that we can Voidwaker spec him. I'm probably going to use a blowpipe spec because I'm kind of sitting on a lot of spec right now. I'm going to be a little bit careful with that. We'll hold the rest of the spec though. Now, we can't sit on 100% spec, so we'll go ahead and use some. I would prefer to use at least 2-3 more Voidwakers on this guy. Now, we'll save the rest because we don't want to be too risky with it. This is where having the Tacits is really nice. Gives you convenient swishes. Now we're going to hold our adrenaline a little bit until we get more spec back. Let's go ahead and stand closer to this guy. Proc Echo Boots on both him and the Shadow. We're not going to adrenaline just yet. Reason being, we want to have some leftover for Akkha, ideally. Maybe I should have used one Voidwaker spec in hindsight. Go ahead and use some spec. A little unlucky there. I should have resummoned my thrall to a ranged thrall. It would have possibly helped me overcome this threshold. But again, this is a slower Akkha than usual, and I've come to accept that. This is a level 4 Akkha. We'll get ready for adrenaline. Get the death charge again. We're gonna get ready for an Adrenaline Sun, possibly some Voidwakers as well. Go ahead and Adrenaline now. And we'll have enough spec recharging soon for sun specs as well. If you're not as confident, maybe don't go for that extra Voidwaker that I did. That way you have a little bit more spec. I'll count that one. Let's go ahead and pick up the restores that we dropped. Dropped quite a few, remember? And yep, 6-minute Akkha is kind of what we expect for a level 4 without any shadow or anything like that. But honestly, for a not shadow, it's pretty good. Now the reason you want to adrenaline at the tail end of the fight is so that you can have some for Zabak. It's pretty unlikely that your BGS doesn't hit at least a 20 in the first 2 specs, but it certainly does happen, and having the adrenaline helps neutralize that chance, and any extra leftover spec can always be used on Voidwaker. Now in case you have Zerat Van Braces, you could also do face guard and gloves, but I think this Tri-Braid is like really good, and it's a lot more accessible anyway. If you ever drop to 124, make sure you correct your salt timer, because your max hits start dropping as soon as you hit 124. There you go. Make sure you always step 2 back like that. Probably some tick slots doing that. I'm not used to the 4-tick Voidwaker timer anymore. I haven't taken it in a while. Go ahead and lazy flick. Rigger, this is probably one of the easier rooms to do it. That's a little annoying. Minor thing, I'm not sure if my BGS is on aggressive or accurate right now, but it should be on accurate. Whatever it was, it should be accurate. But it is very minor. For the second set of boulders, they're generally, the solve was in the middle or to the rightish. That's a little rude. If you're bored like me, go ahead and try to save a jug. For the funsies. Now we can close out the fight with 2 more Voidwaker specs or Sun spec as needed. As for any other Zabak, you want to be praying the correct one a tick before it actually hits you. Before it enters your character. Always step 2 back. Now we're gonna go ahead and power again and blowpipe spec. Oh, sorry, power again and BGS spec. Oh boy. You should hopefully have around 5 to 6 restores. It's ideal. We're trying to go for at least a BGS of 30, and then we can blowpipe the obelisk. If you miss 3 BGSs in a row, then go ahead and hold. I'm gonna tank on the other side. We'll go for 1 more here. We'll save the rest for Sun. Rabbit heal up. Tank to 76. Set up our Voidwaker, BGS, and DDS. Now, we're going to tank the first 2 orbs, just as usual. And then, without needing to know any Tiki shenanigans, if you know them, feel free to use them. I would recommend it, but this is a very casual raid where you don't need to know them. And go ahead and Sun as soon as the 2 orbs hit you. You turn off Rapid Heal now that we're at 76. Now we'll be able to tank 3 more orbs at 118. Take out your Tbow or Bofa, whatever you're using. And we're going to stand here. I like to use these tile markers. Now this one, we're going to want to pray melee. This Warden runs up to you, so make sure you're praying melee in between attacks. This one is as usual. You can just AFK in the corner here. This corner safe spot is perfect. Give him the good old 5 DDS. Or 4. This has leniency. This one we're actually only going to get 4. Kill Voidwaker. Finish off with BGS whack. Trap the mage phase. Switch out your thralls. Now we're going to hold on our adrenaline for a bit unless we need it for Sun. Don't forget the death charge. Very careful of bombs, as usual. And we're only going to get one of these slow trident phases, which is very nice. Just resalt whenever. We can fix a timer later. We'll drop one DDS. Now the 7, 4, 5, 6, 7. Give it a BGS whack. Back to your Tbow. Next one is bombs. You can safe up if needed. Actually, next one is windmill. I'm so sorry. Chillin'. You can just go ahead and chill on this island. Just run across like that. Now we're gonna save our spec so we can have extra BGS wax, or sorry, BGS specs. Now we're gonna go for the adrenaline. This will give us very good consistency in going for BGS hits. You can use your extras on Voidwakers. Now with all these restores, feel free just to chill out, start hitting boss. Make sure to correct your salt timer in case you ever see it go to 124. The way you correct it is by resalting after a 15-second threshold. So right on like 14, for example. If you're a little bit more wuss with P4, you can save the adrenaline for P4, but the P3 adrenaline is a little bit more efficient. We'll kill the first set of skulls just to heal up, and then we'll start skull skipping afterwards. Now with the Akkha Kefri route, you do need to pray range to start. Whenever you see Akkha slam a shield, you want to be switching your overheads. Not many people do Akkha Kefri these days, but this is one of the rare exceptions where it's pretty good. You mostly run it for the best, or for a nice fast P2. But then skull skip. It does do minor chip damage through prayer, but of course, we can heal that up with some Kara's pokes. We'll use 2 specs here. That way we still have some for later. Similar to Baba, you want to dodge 1 bomb before skipping. I'm a little unfamiliar with the exact bomb timing, so I'm just kind of winging it right now. Oops. Fortunately, we can just heal up with Karis as usual. I assume as you get more experience with this kind of raid, this particular setup that is, you'll be able to skull skip all, and your unique will be a little bit better than this. Now, as usual, you can proc from the back like this. That lets you most likely squeeze in an extra arrow into P4, which is kind of nice. In the beginning, we proc closer because the hits actually get nulled. But going into P4, hits do not get nulled. Go ahead and BGS once. Save the rest. If you're less confident, you can just go ahead and hold for Sun, or I guess if you were less confident, you would have Adrenaline anyway. And as you see, Akkha does do a little bit of chip damage through prayer, but it's really not too bad. His average hit seems to be a 2, 0 to 4. There you go, 35 minute, 13.4 seconds, 13.4 uniques percentage. Pretty chill, didn't really have to flick much, still have 2 extra restores. Probably fit in a Tormented Bracelet, or I'm not sure. More range switchers such as rings may be beneficial, especially if you have a Xerath Van Braces. I'm guessing Xerath Van Braces and Venator Ring would actually be worth it in this kind of setup just because it's so range heavy. You spend a lot of time ranging in this raid, probably about 13 minutes, so it would probably be worth it if you can handle the flicks. But otherwise, I hope that helped you guys with an example 485. Have a good rest of your day.